first worked for KB Foods, I was 25 years old, and basically, they were basically family to us. I mean, they answered any questions we had. They were there for us. They were just great people to work for. Their family, and they were innovators. I mean, it was just, if you had a question, you could go to Les or Jan and they'd answer it.
Les he was probably the most humble human being I have ever met in my life. What a great person to work for. And his wife, Jan. They were people that cared about people, about who you were, to make a living, and give you every opportunity to grow.
You know, they would do, they would donate a lot of their time, a lot of money to different organizations throughout the Omaha area. If it wasn't for child organizations, women's organizations, the handicap organizations, they would really, if it wasn't time, like I say, it wasn't time, they would actually do donations and then, be involved in it all the time. They were good about that.
Les's words, I remember it to this day. It was always said when I went into sales. He said, never overpromise, but always over-deliver. He says, you'll have the respect of the customer, of the people that work for him, and everything. And the thing about it would be, you're gonna make them smile because you're ahead of the time. You've got the product for them.
They both were a inspiration to me. So if there's anything that I owe them, is they gave me the chance to do what I'm doing today, and I'm still doing it. They gave you the opportunity to grow, and they didn't hinder your growth.
To this day, Les, you and Jan deserve exactly where you're at right now, that Hall of Fame. What a great organization that you're being inducted into.
Please welcome our 2017 Omaha Hospitality Hall of Fame inductees, Les and Jan Schneiderman. Accepting tonight are Jan and Scott Schneiderman.
Thanks for the restaurant hospitality for this honor for both my mother and my father. It's a great honor to be standing here tonight to celebrate my parents, Jan and Les Schneiderman, and able to congratulate all the other that are honored here this evening. KB began its days as an ice cream soda shop at 30th and Cummings in the 40s. KB was purchased by the city of Omaha to make way for St. Joe Hospital. That is when KB Foods first opened their doors in 1955 by my father and his two uncles, Abe and Nate Kesselman. KB had 4 different locations. One was in South Omaha, then they moved to 78th and Cass, 102nd and I Street, and then John J. Pershing Drive. KB was in business for 43 years and had around 100 employees. My father was a humble man and would not believe he deserved to be honored this evening. Les was a hardworking, tireless, and honest, and always put his family, employees, and customers first. Because of this, he developed lifelong friendships with his employees and customers alike. My dad was one who believed everyone should be treated the same, and my sisters and I were no exception. When my sisters helped at KB, they were given the chores of filing and straightening the kitchen. And for myself, I began my days at KB cleaning toilets, sweeping, and mopping the floors. My father had a great ability of never dwelling on the past, of always looking forward to the next day and living each day to its fullest. I would be remiss not to mention that Les did not do this alone. My mom, Jan Schneiderman, was a huge part of KB's success. My mom handled the marketing and the food show each year. This was an enormous responsibility and contributed to many years of KB's success. My mom was a woman in a primarily man's world, and she could definitely hold her own, and she was ahead of her time. Both of my parents' knowledge of the food industry was immense and brought KB Foods to immeasurable success. Thank you for honoring KB Foods, my family, and my parents, Jan and Les Schneiderman. Thank you.
Scott, thank you so much for this introduction. And thank to the Restaurant Association and all of you who made this possible. I realized tonight how much I miss the business. I grew up in the grocery business. My parents owned a grocery store. My brother, who is with us tonight, and my sister-in-law, Iris, my parents worked from very early in the morning until very late at night and taught me what it means to service your customers. They're number one. And I learned this, and when Les and I got married and he told me what he did, I thought, it's the same thing. It's just a different part of the grocery world, and it was. But it's part of the grocery world that I learned to love. And I think it was the love of this business that brought me to do the kinds of things that I never would have done. I never would have studied it. I didn't know what I was going to do. I figured I'd be a housewife and a mother, and that was enough. Well, it wasn't enough. However, I will tell you, being a mother brought to me a lot of perks. I have my daughter-in-law, Heidi, Scott's wife, who is with us tonight, and 3 of my 7 extraordinary, wonderful grandchildren. They're the best. And for those of you who have them, if you don't enjoy them, then you're missing out. So I'd like my 3 grandchildren, Andrew, Tyler, and Spencer, to stand up to see what 3... I think the things that Tyler and Spencer are missing, however, had we still had the business, would be to sweep the floors and mop the floors and do whatever their father told them to do. So, sorry, boys. Also like to introduce my daughter, Debbie, who came from Kansas City to spend this evening with us. And I remembered a little story. One day, Scott called, and he said, I have this wedding that they ordered little teeny cakes. I don't remember what they were. They were frozen. So he went down to get the cakes because he was going to deliver them That was one of the things that was taught by his father. If you don't have a truck to deliver it, you put it in your car and you take it wherever it needs to be taken. So we've come to find out that the little cakes, whatever they were either defrosted or ruined, or I don't remember now, it's been too long ago. And so we called one of our fellow distributors in Kansas City, and we said, we need 100 or whatever it was of these cakes. And they said, oh, we have them. So now how do we get them? So we called Debbie, and we said, Debbie, you need to go out to, and I don't even remember the name of the company. I don't remember a lot of things these days. We called Debbie, and we said, you need to go to the distributor so-and-so in Kansas City and pick up the cakes. Well, how was she going to get them to Omaha? She can't get them to Omaha in 3 hours. So Scott says, it's my customer. I will go meet Debbie halfway. And I think he drove to Mound City or someplace halfway between, and they exchanged these little cakes, and he brought them home, and he was able to service the customer. That's the kind of service KB Foods gave. That's the kind of service that Les believed in and his uncle believed in. It was the customer is always right, even if the customer is not right. And for those of you who were never felt that way or being serviced that way, tell your salesman that the customer is always right, even if the customer is not right. Anyway, it was a wonderful ride. I loved every minute of what I did for KB Foods, and I used to say, well, my job is coming and going as I please. If I was needed at home, if I was needed at my kid's school, if I was needed wherever, there were certain things that came first. But I loved working with Les. He was everything that Scott said he was. He was a person who cared for his customers. They came first. And I remember him telling me before the wedding, now I get up at 6 in the morning, and I don't go to bed until about 8 o'clock at night. I don't stay up any later than that because I have to get up at 5. And he did for all the many years that we were married, and before he passed, he got up at the crack of dawn in order to be in the office or in order to be at a customer when exactly the time that he had set with that customer, they could set the clocks by him. So I came from a marriage that he taught me so much. And for those of you who had the opportunity to either have Les as a salesperson or who worked with Les, I think they would tell you the same thing. And to Jim and Bill, two of our #1 salespeople, I thank them for their participation in this event. It's always good to see someone or two, that you had a relationship with, and we did have a good time at KB Foods. For those of you who maybe had the opportunity to come to our food shows, Bill did one thing wrong once, and I won't forget this, Bill. We had our food show at the Omaha Civic Auditorium, where into the room that we had it was a driveway, and in that driveway was my parking place, had my name on it. And Bill, one day, I think he was first, when he first came to work for us, unfortunately decided to park in my parking place. So I had to go in and say to him, Bill, you're in my parking place, move your car. And he did, and we've talked about that for years and years and years. And you know what? Bill's a great guy, Jim's a great guy, they've served us well. They continue to serve the food service industry, and I thank them. And to all of you who came tonight to be a part of this, and to the Restaurant Association and the everybody who had a part of this, I thank you very much. It's been a wonderful opportunity, and I thank you so much for the gift that you've given me.